You're listening to Healthy Living with Eric Sue Podcast, episode 150.
Your chance is now. I'm excited to announce the next Healthy Living Mastermind with Eric Sue. It starts March 13, 2017. Over 8 weeks, you will get Eric's proven health and wellness strategies to help you get your health back and achieve your fitness goals. Join in with other highly motivated people as we all support and inspire one another. Visit www.ericwsue.com/mastermind for all the details.
Are you a first-time listener? Hey, welcome. My team and I hope you enjoy this episode. If you are a long-time listener, we thank you for your continued support. Do us a favor and share this podcast with all your friends because they deserve this amazing content as well. Okay, now on to the good stuff you all have been waiting for.
Health tips, wellness advice, no hype. Welcome to Healthy Living with Eric Sue, the show that inspires, motivates, and educates you towards your healthiest life. And now your host, Eric Sue.
Hey guys, Eric Sue here. Welcome to another episode of Healthy Living with Eric Sue. We have an outstanding personal trainer with us today. His name is Rob Donker, and we'll be talking about how to get results even if you're not into fitness. So without any delay, let me introduce you all to Rob. Rob, are you ready to make it happen?
Absolutely, yeah, thank you.
No worries. Rob has 9 years in health and wellness as a personal trainer. He's a nutritionist, speaker, and gym manager. He founded organizations such as Beyond Wellness, which is a corporate health and wellness company. He also owns VIP Wellness, a global high-end personal training service. He does Raw seminars, seminar, and networking events in Dubai. His other credentials include he was a 2014 natural bodybuilding, champion.
I won some categories in there in 2014. It was the first natural bodybuilding competition in the Middle East, in fact.
Excellent, very good. As it was drug-free, it looks like, and
drug-free, hormone-free.
And he's a top 5 world champions in 2015. That was just a little bit about who you are, Rob. Can you share with our audience a little bit more on how you got started?
Yeah, absolutely. To be very, very honest with you, it all started when I was in my very early 20s. I was what you would say a leisure trainer. I didn't really follow a set plan. I didn't really look after my nutrition. However, after doing a ski season in Austria, you may understand that a lot of people maybe in Canada, they go to Canada and they do a ski season where they just kind of slum it on the slopes and enjoy working and getting on the slopes every day. So I did that, and I got fat.
Oh.
So there was no training going on, and I was basically working, going out, eating rubbish all the time. So I ended up coming back, and I was overweight. So I decided that it was a good time for me to really start focusing. I'm in my early 20s. This is the time I should be in the best shape of my life. So started the training, really enjoyed it, and I noticed that I was getting really passionate about it, and people started asking me questions about it as well. So I realized that this probably is something I'm really passionate about. So I took it further and did the level 3 training course, did the level 3 nutrition course, and since then I've continued a lot of my education through online courses, be it massage, mindset training like NLP. So I really believe that it's a very holistic process, getting health and well-being. So all the aspects are kind of synergistically linked together.
Yeah, you walk the walk. Walk the
talk.
talk.
I try my best nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. Just real quick, we did mention he is in Dubai, but his background is Scotland, right? Scottish?
That's right, yeah. As you can probably tell from the accent, I grew up in Scotland. My father is from Holland and my mother is from Scotland. And I guess we're probably a bit of a gypsy family because my mom and dad now live in Cyprus. My sister was living in France. I'm living in Dubai, so we're all over the place these days.
Very good. Excellent. Just to learn a little bit more about you, Rob, what's one cool or unique fact about yourself?
Cool or unique fact? Well, what I'll tell you actually is my surname. My surname is Donker, and it's a Dutch name, as you can guess. It's a bit of a strange one. Donker actually means dark. So if you were saying it was dark outside in Dutch, then you're saying it's Donker. So my name is, in fact, Rob Dark.
Nice, nice. We like that. All right. So we had a pre-show conversation a little bit, and we talked a little bit about this topic, about how to get results, even if you're not into fitness. You went into that a little bit with me. Would you be able to describe it to our audience, and how do you explain it to people?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest kind of causes of friction, I guess, us trainers have with many of our clients is the client goes through a stage of feeling as though they should get in shape or they should get healthy. However, it's not an underlying desire. It's, I probably should get in shape or I probably should get fitter. So one of the biggest areas we have to tackle is that friction and trying to get them on board with the fact that it's becoming a lifestyle for them, and it's coinciding with the actual goal they're after. They enjoy it. So especially when it comes to things like nutrition, which I think, as you'll probably agree, Eric, is probably one of the most controversial sides of training, is because people find it very hard to stick to their nutrition plans or even just to improve their nutrition somewhat. Is they always have a very negative mindset towards their plan. They would say, well, it's boring, it's bland, I can't go out and socialize with my friends because, they'll be eating lots of rich foods.
Right.
So it's a very slow process, but one thing that I find us as trainers, we need to really focus on doing is getting a mindset shift for our client, so that compliancy isn't a struggle for them. It's actually an enjoyment for them.
Correct. Oh, yeah. We have to find that medium where they're happy and not dreading every moment of the process, right?
Exactly, yeah.
What can you tell with your experience? What can you tell our audience about, what could they do, simple little things they could do to change that mindset and to start getting the results?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the let's refer firstly to nutrition again. One of the main issues is that people try to overhaul their nutrition too quickly. So it could be through their own choice, or it could be through maybe a less experienced personal trainer who's giving them a very strict plan. The kind of typical bodybuilding diet of chicken and rice, that kind of thing.
You too, Rob?
Yeah. So basically, my kind of method, especially with those people who have that initial struggle, is not to upheave their diet completely, is to make subtle changes, small steps over time, and then eventually they'll see in 6 months' time that their nutrition will actually be overhauled. So, for example, that might just be starting off with ensuring that you do drink 2 liters of water a day at least. Or it may be making sure that you do have some sort of healthy breakfast in the morning rather than skipping it, and maybe sometimes skipping food all the way until dinner time and then gorging. It may be replacing one of your snacks, which may not be of a healthy nature, maybe 3 Oreos with a cup of tea, replaced with like some nuts and a banana or something, small changes so people don't feel like they're disrupting their life too much. I mean, it's a proven fact that humans do not like change.
True.
So if we can make the change feel as subtle and as small as possible, all those little changes add up, and eventually, after a long period of time, they'll find that they're actually leading a rather healthy lifestyle without actually overhauling it all in
No.
one go and failing after 3 weeks.
Of course, absolutely. Recently I've been advising some of my newer clients to think about what they can do, and I especially like nutrition, so that they can get I call it fast wins. So that if they were to make a substitution of coffee to tea, for example, I mean that is, and they can do it consistently, maybe 3 days in a row. That's a fast win, and just continue with that, so that they know that the change isn't as difficult.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I think, you're right. That's making those small changes definitely helps to make them feel like they're getting, little wins here and there. And I guess as well, when they actually start to see the results physically, or even with their energy levels, that they'll actually be very motivated to keep on going.
True. Yeah, absolutely. As
And
far
it
as
works. Sorry.
I was going to say, as far as
it works.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, just crossing over into the activity side of things. Maybe that was something you were just about to say.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, great. We're on the same wavelength. Crossing over into the activity side of things. Again, it's not upheaving their lack of activity to making them do marathons within the week, It can be very slow start, I mean, I've worked with clients where, we were walking 1 kilometer, together, and then slowly but surely we were turning that into interval runs, so you might even just do 15 seconds of running with 45 seconds of walking.
Yeah.
So again, it's just making those very subtle changes, and after a period of time, they may find that by the end of 6 weeks that they're actually able to run 2 kilometers without even stopping,
Yeah.
So again, it's that slow progression. I think it helps people to see the improvement, but not to really give them that sense of achievement, I think they really want to feel that sense of achievement.
True.
Recently I had somebody who loved running in the past, but they hadn't done it for about 10 years. But we slowly built her up to a 5K, and we were just doing interval training, very light and very gentle, and eventually we got to the stage where we ran a 5K together, and she was so happy, and now she's taken up running again. She's been re-inspired again.
Sure. I was going to say, you probably have met people like that, and then you have met people who, they'll tell me, I just hate fitness, and just show me how to do it, or I'll get through it. Do you think those people, and I hope they continue even after they finish their sessions or whatever with me, and even with you? I don't know if you have them continually, but there are people out there like that, and what kind of advice would you tell them so that they continue, even though they're really not into fitness? What could you say?
Yeah, I would say I totally agree with you. You do get people who point blank just doesn't matter what you do with them, they just don't like fitness, and they will gladly go through the sessions with you, and they will do everything with gritted teeth, and they'll finish their sessions. But like you say, your kind of hope is that they will continue on some level after. However, there's always going to be an activity for someone, I believe. There's always going to be some kind of movement or some kind of activity that someone is going to enjoy. So whether that be like dancing, whether it be gardening, whether anything that's going to increase someone's, even people should perform more NEPA, the non-exercise related calorie burning. So I think if they can improve on these kind of aspects, even just instead of going to get their car washed by someone else, they could do it themselves. Or instead of, this is something that happens in Dubai, and I don't think it's the same in America, but you can get people to deliver your food to your doorstep. You can get all these different things to make your life so much easier, but it just avoids you burning that potentially extra 100 calories, So instead of actually, getting everything delivered, you could actually walk to the store and collect it yourself and walk
Yeah.
back,
Yeah.
and these kind of tasks that seem like they're just day-to-day normal tasks, they actually add up by the end of the day. By the end of the day, you may have burnt an extra 250 to 300 calories just by increasing your NEPA.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, you're in Dubai and you have unique challenges over there. I want to give people here in America kind of a contrast. If you could share with us, and maybe there's some similarities. What kind of struggles are there out there for people to get into fitness?
Okay, so like we were discussing before, actually there is quite a lot of issues with the UAE in terms of obesity and diabetes. Now, part of the fact that there's an issue with diabetes in the UAE is because there's a genetic disposition for them to get type 1 diabetes. But the type 2 diabetes is hugely prevalent here, and that's actually because, as I said to you before, junk food in the UAE is relatively new. Junk food in the UAE is maybe 25 years old, whereas in Europe and the US, it's 35, 45 years old. People are understanding, too much junk food is really bad for you. So I think where we're getting smart in the US and where we're getting smart in Europe, these guys are still in that kind of excited sort of honeymoon phase with junk food.
Yeah.
Another really kind of big issue that the UAE suffers from is the climate, because it's very, very, very hot, and especially in the middle 3 months of the year, the summer months. So maybe from the end of May until the end of September, it's just perishably hot. If you walk outside, literally within 1 minute, you're dripping with sweat. Your clothes are wet.
Mm.
So those kind of temperatures also force people to be less active as well, because many people will leave their house, they'll jump straight into a car and go straight up to the entrance of the mall, and then they'll go straight into the mall, and they're basically not doing any kind of activity at all. However, in the winter months it's not so bad, but especially in the summer, that leads people to just get lazy. When they're not being active in the summer, they get used to it, so they're not active in the winter either. I don't know if that's something that people in the US kind of have as a culture, but it certainly is in the UAE.
Yeah, I want to say there's a slight shift a little bit of people knowing that being active is one of the keys to reducing disease and just staying healthy. There's different parts in the U.S. that are just extremely hot. Arizona, Florida can be very hot. Texas, very, very hot. But overall, I think people find ways, and that's really the key, right? How do we find ways to keep that activity up? Can you share with us a little bit about how you help people stay active?
Yeah, of course. I mean, one of the great things about Dubai is that they recognize this. I mean, the UAE ministers have actually created a happy minister. So the happy ministers actually implemented goals for 2020, and part of those goals are to create more indoor areas where people can actually move and be active more. So although there is already quite a good selection of indoor areas for people to move, get active, there's going to be a lot more built in the next 4 years in order to reach those targets and ensure that people don't really have a valid excuse anymore to say, oh, it's too hot outside, I can't really be active because it's far too hot outside. So definitely the fact that they're building more indoor space. From a personal perspective, working with clients, there's loads of different ways that you can try and get them more active, especially in these kind of climates. But one thing that really works quite well is having clients do things like beach workouts.
Okay.
Because
if they're right?
So if they're at the beach, like it doesn't matter if they're getting really clammy and sweaty and stuff like that, and they can, and often at the end you can get them to, jump into the sea or whatever just to cool off at the end and that kind of thing. So there's many different ways that you can coax people into being active outside without them thinking, oh, it's too muggy, it's too hot, it's too sweaty, that kind of thing. So there's plenty of ways that the UAE is actually taking a stand in order to change the kind of culture.
Yeah. Because even here, you said you've never been to Chicago, but one day you probably will. We have 4 seasons. We got sometimes spring, but winters can be brutal, and summers are awesome, mid 80s, 90s, and degrees. I think you guys are in Celsius, maybe, I forget.
Yeah.
So the point is that people really complain about the weather here, and there's really, from your perspective, you guys have pretty extreme too, right? And people here should just get over it, right?
Yeah, I think, like what we said before, there are certain number of reasons why people love to use weather as an excuse. They love to use work as an excuse. They love to say they have children as an excuse. So I think, like we started off on saying, is if people actually start to conform with the fact that health and wellness is going to benefit them in the long run, they may change their mindset towards it a little bit, and naturally excuses will be overcome quite quickly then.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. There's no more excuses when we see other side of the world and where you guys are and how we live, and everyone's on the same boat of just trying their best to be healthy, trying to be fit, stay in shape, prevent disease, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, the great thing about that is that if people like yourself or people in Dubai, like who are in the fitness industry like myself, is the best we can do is guide people without judging them too much, and just keep inspiring and guiding them as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. You can share a little bit, or can you share a little bit about what you do there specifically? I know you do more corporate stuff. Can you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, so obviously, as you know, like the fitness and the nutrition side is my kind of bread and butter, the backbone of my kind of career in Dubai. However, one thing which I'm trying to really get into here in Dubai is corporate health and wellness. In Europe and America, I know it's quite prevalent. Most companies do have a kind of well-maintained or comprehensive health and wellness package. Am I right about America?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I believe it's quite a good. Most companies are quite good. However, in the Middle East and North Africa, there's only 7% of companies which have a reasonable health and wellness program. And of that 7%, most of these companies are international companies or multinational companies. So, for example, I am doing a bit of stuff with HP at the moment, which is obviously an international company. So they see the value in it, whereas there's not so much of a culture here in Dubai for that yet. However, again, having talked to you earlier about the Happy Minister, that's going to create some big changes, I think, in terms of the corporate wellness aspect, where companies are going to want to try and hit targets. They're going to want to try and see less of their staff using their health insurance, etc., etc. So I do think eventually it's going to grow. So I'd like to be at the cusp of that.
Yeah.
A lot of these companies at the moment are quite primitive to that sort of thing. But the offering which I like to give are kind of informative seminars, which are very, it's hard to kind of to explain it in terms of how you would bring it across to them. But I think one of the only ways you can really bring it across to people who don't actually see health and wellness for them is just to give extremely easy or extremely simple implementable tips, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a very strange culture where when you sometimes you go into an office, some of these people, they just don't believe health and wellness is for them. They've got to the stage where they're past it and they're like, I can't do that, you know.
They're too old.
I'm too old, or I'm just in a sedentary life. I don't do that kind of thing. But you know, when they start to see the value of health and wellness, and they start to implement those very subtle, small changes and feel the difference, then I think they will be able to kind of make those improvements.
Yeah.
And I think, like the quote says as well, it says like most people don't understand how good you can actually feel. So with the right implementation of activity, nutrition, even with a big part of work life is also stress and control, you can actually feel really good. You can feel really energized. You can feel really happy. But most people are in this kind of negative cycle, and they really struggle, you know.
Yeah, it's a culture thing and whatnot. I've been to companies, and it's a quality of life. It's a productivity and getting the most out of your employees type of thing. So totally understand where you're coming from. So good job. You're making it happen out there.
I'd like to be on the cusp of the wave.
Sure, absolutely. I just had the last few questions for you. We're getting to the end of the podcast, and I really appreciate all you shared with us. What 3 tips could you share with our audience for outstanding health and wellness?
Okay, for outstanding health and wellness, to make it very, very, very simple again, we're aiming for the people who don't actually like or want to be fit. Is one thing I would say is critically important to increase your health and wellness is make sure you're drinking enough water. Every single cell in our body is like 97% water. So if our cells aren't happy, we aren't happy. So we need to keep those cells fed. So that's definitely one of my first tips, is always drink adequate or above adequate water. Water toxicity is far into the 10, 12 liters. So if you can drink 5 or 6 liters a day, even better, especially in a hot country. The second thing I would say in terms of tips is try and learn to enjoy the process rather than to endure it. As soon as you endure something, you're already fighting against it without actually thinking about it, you know?
So good.
So whenever you feel like you're going to complain about, you know, having the apple instead of the chocolate eclair, you know, or the Krispy Kreme or whatever, just remember, you know, that you're feeding your body the right nutrients. It's going to make you feel better in the long run. You're not going to become overweight. Your chances of diabetes are going to fall, you know, if you're eating the correct foods. So it's actually finding the enjoyment in changing your lifestyle rather than enduring or, you know, not being happy with the actual process that you're going through.
Very good.
And then lastly, I would say is find an activity that you're passionate about. So like I mentioned earlier, whether it's a dancing class, you know, and there's many different types of dancing classes. You've got your Zumba, you've got your R&B, you've got even the kind of Moulin Rouge style dancing, you know. So like there's so many different ways to kind of stay active and do activities that are going to improve your health and wellness. So it's finding something that you enjoy or that you're passionate about. Some people might find that they like golf. Golf's not an intense sport, but you're going to cover a few miles if you hit 18 holes. So it's really like, I mean, when you find your niche, when you find what you really enjoy, exercise no longer becomes a task anymore. It becomes an enjoyment.
Very good. Excellent. Well said, Rob. Well said. I want to give you opportunity to share your contact information. Even though he's in Dubai, I'm sure you're open on Facebook and whatnot. How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so if anyone wants to get in touch, my website is, this is the more corporate-based website, is beyondwellness.ae. And if you want to get in touch with me via email, it's info@beyondwellness.ae. I also have a couple of social media handles. I can't even remember my Facebook.
We'll make sure we'll put it in the show notes, but if you do, go
yeah,
ahead.
you can put it in the show notes. But the Instagram is rob.coach.uae. So
Awesome.
it's very explanatory. I'm a
Cool.
coach in the UAE.
Awesome. Very good. I knew this was going to be an amazing show. I really appreciate it, Rob. It is.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's almost. What time is it over there?
Great to chat.
10, 11
almost 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So appreciate you doing this at this time.
It's my pleasure.
I look forward to connecting with you again in the future, and you never know, I might get out to Dubai, or you maybe get out to Chicago. I don't know.
Absolutely, we'll get a selfie together.
Perfect. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we'll stay in touch. Have a great day.
Thanks very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Healthy Living with Eric Sue. Head over to ericwsue.com for full recaps of every show in Eric's Health and Wellness blog. Your healthy living life is waiting for you. So stay active and be safe.